Sensitivity is intelligence. With grace and skill, you have abundance. Welcome to the Psychic Hour. Host Kelly Brickle is a psychic medium healer, numerologist, and teacher. Her passions are learning about the soul and energy. Whether it's through spirit, emotion, or vibrational numbers, there's always a pathway of information waiting to help. Now, here is your host of the Psychic Hour, Kelly Brickle.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Psychic Hour on WLTK-DB. Let's Talk Radio. I'm Kelly Brickle, and this is the show where we talk about all things psychic, mediumship, intuition, spirituality, and along the way, we have wonderful guests. So we have medium and spiritual teacher, as well as angelic channel, Leanne Thomas on the show today. So you'll get a chance to ask questions later on or just interact. And that's what I always love, bringing on people to share their life experience, because there are so many angles to being a spiritual being. There's so many angles to being a medium, to being a channel, to being a teacher, and it doesn't look the same. And I just want to encourage as much people as possible to just feel like, wow, that's a different perspective. Okay, maybe I can go out and do it because I'm different too. Or it's a similar perspective. I don't feel alone. Win-win situation. That's how I feel about it. So everybody coming in. Hello, Courtney. Hello, LeAnn. Hello, Angela. Hello, Kevin. And wow, Kevin. Yeah. Hey. Awesome, awesome, awesome. I love it. Hey, Kevin. Hi, Christy. And so we always start with the topic of the day. And the topic of the day was kind of inspired a couple days ago by dreams and dream interpretation. And I just thought, again, it was like another invitation to talk about something I think so important with spiritual development and awareness and consciousness expansion. Because a lot of people who are opening up to their gifts or having, I guess, experiences, they sometimes have it in the dream realm. Not always. Everyone, again, so different. But sometimes they'll have like dreams where they see their loved ones, or they'll have dreams where something will happen the next day and it's uncanny, almost like, deja vu, but a little bit stronger per se, where there's just connections that you remember a little bit more vividly, or just messages for yourself. Sometimes there's very vivid and lucid dreams where it lets you know about what's going on within your own situation, but you're able to interact with the dream or participate in the dream. And all these occurrences happen when you wake up. You're able to either navigate your life better, understand your life better, or start to open up another side of yourself. And good afternoon, Stephanie. Good afternoon, Courtney. And I think I said, did I say hi to you, Debbie? I'm going to say hi to you anyway, because it's great to say hello to people. So hello, everybody coming in. And it's just, I encourage everybody to, if they are looking to understand their dreams more for whatever reason, like write them down, journal them, or like remember a word that helps you stimulate the dream. And there's going to be some dreams that you just don't remember. That's okay. And there's going to be a lot of dreams that you do when you start to actually make a conscious effort to bridge the two of when I'm subconscious or unconscious sleeping to when I'm conscious. And I'm just very enthusiastic when it comes to that declaration, because it does take practice. It doesn't happen overnight unless it kind of hits you across the face in a way where you're just like, wow, I can't not think about that. I can't not remember it. It's like echoing throughout my day, right? It's echoing throughout my week. What did that dream mean? And to take that, like a shakeup that you get, and a lot of times they're not, dreams can sometimes be scary, and sometimes they're just like really positive and soul opening. But to take that like echoing and make it consistent if you want to. You don't have to, do it every day. You don't have to experience that routinely. In fact, there's been times within my own life where I was very connected to my dreams, and I would like use them as ways to understand myself and understand people. Honestly, I'd get like, I couldn't always plan it, but sometimes you can intend it though. But you can't always plan it, but you can intend for it. And it's kind of like planning. I would ask like spirit through my dreams to help guide me with things that I was working on, or if people would come into my life, just to send them into my dreams so I could understand, talk to them like in a place where it wasn't so confined. So sometimes you can connect with people's souls that are still living, and you can connect in the dream world because, we're not bound when we're sleeping. Our spirit is free. And it's almost like, a visitation dream in a sense, but it's different because your souls are still, very much alive. How can I put this? Your energy is still very much alive, connected to Earth, so it's not quite the same. But the freedom is there, and the spirit to spirit communication is there. And sometimes, yeah, sometimes psychic and mediumship communication definitely overlaps and is incredibly, incredibly similar. But sometimes, yeah, like I would meet people in my dreams to ask them things like, hey, what's going on? Or people would meet me and tell me like, it's okay. Or like, hey, or they would let me know about their character in their dream. Like I'd get metaphors of their character. I'd be like, oh, I have to watch out for that. Or so it's really, really cool because you get to have a conversation with the soul, if that makes sense. And that applies to people who are still here and people who are on their side on the other side, and that's why you can have these really meaningful connections. Some people are commenting on the dreams. I love it. Courtney says, my sister on my mom's side had a dream the other day. She said my grandfather was glowing. I remember everyone saying when they glow, it's like a visitation. He was not very open with us kids, so it meant a lot to her. I love that. And absolutely, when people glow um, in dreams or kind of even in the mind's eye, it is an indication of there's this energy that is all around them, and you're able to not only feel or see the actual face of a person or body of the person, but actually qualities of the energy of the person, so it can come up within the visuals. And it does kind of make you pay attention because you go, oh, that's a part of you too. That's a part of you too. And so a lot of times when I am connecting to people, if they're on the other side, especially if they've been there for some time, not always, but especially if they're on the other side, I do actually see a glow around them, and it helps me validate if they are indeed past. So I love that. That is something that's very real, Courtney. But everyone experiences it in different ways, of course. The same night, I had a dream with her and her kid's dad. Yeah. So the space was open for the family, like I really feel like growing up when my friends had unique dreams or I had unique dreams, or if I'd hear a special story from my mom or dad, it helped open up the space for myself to think, okay, all right, can that happen to me? Can I work with that? And so if you have people in your family and they're telling you these like amazing connections, it does present a really unique opportunity for the spirit world sometimes to go, okay, she's thinking of us. Everybody, let's get a message to her. Let's get a message to her. And it can be different spirits or different souls connected to you, connected to your heart. All right. So Angela, I love the dream. People are enthusiastic about dreams too. That's why I love, reading the comments too as well. Angela says, I think I had a dream where I met a spirit guide in church. He was behind me to my right. He had the bluest eyes I've ever seen, and his brother was behind me to the left. They looked like twins. Okay. I mean, I would encourage you to, again, understand what that dream is about and invite that experience to happen to you again in whatever form, like a guide to come to you. Ask them to present themselves even when you're meditating, because and I've mentioned this before, when we meditate, our brain waves are very similar to when we're sleeping. Okay. When we are doing mediumship too, as well, our brains are very similar to very deep, deep states of meditation. So that's like the theta states. And then also the delta states. That's when we're sleeping. Okay. When we're alert, we're in like on and off between alpha and beta, depending. And so if you are putting your intention with your dreams, or you're putting in your intention and opening yourself up to when you're meditating, you can actually cultivate some of these experiences actually with your loved ones, and absolutely with your guides, because your guides are here to encourage these experiences. They're here to nurture you, and you will have sometimes indicators of maybe what their eyes look like, or them helping you so you can fixate on details of who they are, so they can be known, they can be experienced. So I love that. Continue to work with that, Angela. It absolutely is possible. Courtney, I love that. Someone's getting like chills, spirit bumps while we're talking about this. And she says it's 80 degrees, but she has goosebumps all over, and she's laughing from it. Oh, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. If you're getting like your hairs, standing on end and goosebumps, sometimes people feel like an opening in certain chakra points, whether it's their heart or their head or their mind's eye, or they feel emotional. Like for me, I know when I feel that around others, like that's a truth for me, whether it's a truth I've experienced or a helper to open up more energy of things that I know and who I am. So I always think those are awesome, 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 awesome. So yes, so with dreams, the key is to really bring them into the waking world for understanding them, and to wrap your head around the experience where you know that it doesn't have to be fleeting. So, really, just the repetition of words, journaling, thinking, and it doesn't have to happen all the time. It's just there's going to be certain times within your life where dreams are very, very important, whether you're called to have more and certain experiences happen to you, like the visitations, or whether you just want to know more about yourself. Um, yeah, and it can go all over the place. I think some of my first experiences with like cases and, you know, with what's happening on the news and everything happened through dreams. Like one time I was sleeping, of course, and I had this dream and it was very vivid, and someone was like running through a field. At first they were actually running through a construction site and they were like running away from people, and then they ran into a field and they were trying to escape because they had done something. And I immediately knew from this dream, I'm like, this is very different from my other dreams. What the heck is going on? And I remember that the person was wearing a hat, like a beanie, and they got shot at as they were running. So, yeah, that also makes you kind of go, whoa. And I could feel where they got shot at as they were running. And I wake up and I go, wow, what was that? Like, that was so real. And there was like so many angles experienced, like I was the person running, but then I was like looking at the person running. And then I was able to see like kind of around the environment, what was going on. And it felt very emotional, like survival based. And I just, yeah, usually it had so much of a realist kind of vibe to it rather than dreamy and this is me and my mind gets to wander. I was like brought to this isolated event and I go, what was that? And I remember I kind of told some family members when I woke up, because I was like, oh, that was weird. Like, I wonder what was that? I've never had anything like that. And they were kind of just like, oh, yeah. Like they didn't get it. They didn't get it. And lo and behold, we turn on the news and it was like they were looking for a person in a certain like state, and they described kind of an event, and they put up a sketch of a person. I went, oh my gosh, like that's the person that I saw in my dreams. And still, I wasn't met with much belief because they're just like, congratulations, the person was wearing like a beanie, right? But it was like things I described. It was things I described, and it was so specific. Like even the like the left arm of the person, you know, he got like grazed by a bullet, even. So, and I learned like dreams are a gateway into so many different angles of consciousness. So with that said, it could be, you know, an encouragement when you see and feel like different amalgamations of color, or it could take you into imagination realms. It could take you to the other side. Sometimes people visit the other side and they actually experience all these vivid, beautiful colors. You know, you hear stories about artists who like have these visions and they're just trying to replicate where they were and how they had been, and in that moment, and there's so much healing that comes from. Sometimes, you know, you see depictions of the other side with like angels or Jesus painted by these wonderful channelers of this energy. So it can go in every different direction, and just really, if whether someone believes you, understands you, you have to understand yourself. So don't be discouraged by responses around you, and just write it down. And it's so, so important because you can look back at it and go, wow, I didn't have this validation maybe last week or yesterday, or I didn't have this validation last year. But it lets you be objective even with yourself. So encouragement in the dream realm. Keep going. And hello, Jessie Cat. Hello, everybody. We will be right back in a moment to talk with Leanne Thomas and dive into all things mediumship and angelic with her. Be back in a few. See you then. And we're back just like that. Hello, everybody. Hello. Let's bring in LeAnn. Hey. Hi, LeAnn.
Hello. Kelly,
Hello.
so amazing to connect again after all these years. It feels like you are a little sis. And look at you. Amazing. Everything you were saying just touched my heart, resonated with every cell in my body. Well done.
I'm glad to hear that. I try to be inspired, you know, by just the energies of who's here and what just naturally comes forth. So I love that it really like touched. I appreciate that. I really do. It's wonderful to see you again. I wanna get into definitely sharing. Like, it's been 10 years since I've actually seen you in person. I want to dive into that with you. I want to present and give love to you, and invite everyone to know who you are for a second. So everyone, Leanne Thomas is a psychic medium and channel for the angelic realm. She is the founder of Angelic Hope and the creator of Angelic Hope Archangel Oracle Cards. Leanne works full-time giving messages from spirit, angels, and teaching spiritual development classes. She has traveled throughout the United States teaching and doing audience demonstrations of mediumship. Having her master's in English, language arts, and educational leadership, her background is in education, with her being of service as a public school teacher for 20 years. When she isn't busy with spirit communication, group readings, and talking with angels, you can find Leanne spending time with her husband, working out, wine tasting, and having dinner with her friends and family. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So, yes. Wow, yes. So I met you through Lisa Williams School, and that was, yeah, honestly, almost in a, it was in November of 2013.
13, I think it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It goes back to all of that, those wonderful days. And God bless Lisa for connecting so many of us together and giving us that connection. It was wonderful. And just the light within you, even then, I think we all knew the amazing things that you were going to do.
You're amazing, Leanne. Well, right back to you. I remember, during that time, everyone was opening up their gifts and working, and some people were, doing mediumship for quite a while. And I was in a place where I was really coming into mediumship and coming into like psychic. And I remember that, I did a reading with you, and I remember immediately seeing a cherub. I remember that. And I didn't know why, I didn't know what, because I didn't know you worked with angels, because
Right.
we were placed with people within in class, and we were instructed like to not ask questions really about who they are. So when we got things, it could be more objective. But I
Mhm.
remember there was like all this angelic and golden lights. And I was just like, oh, I don't usually see like cherubs,
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
I tune into somebody, and I was like, what is that? That's so unique. That's so different. And I was so intrigued.
Yeah. Well, from the start, from my knowing you from the start, lots of evidence. So that doesn't shock me of that memory that you would have, because you've always been in that evidential arena with all of your gifts, whether psychic things coming through or mediumship things coming through. So, yeah.
We all try our best, right? We all try our best. I want to learn about your gifts too, because it's funny because we have been in class environments, and I just remember so many moments of being with your energy, but I've always thought, well, how did you get to that point? Like what inspired that within you? Like, I think about like angels and the divine feminine with you,
Mm.
and there's all this soft glowing light, and I want to know, what were your first experiences with angels?
Right away from being very small are my first memories. And my memories really came to me at the later end of my teen years or my early 20s. So I don't have memories like that were all the way through. It kind of, because life was happening, right? But my first memory, I was about 4 years old, maybe three, and I wasn't in school yet. My baby sister was born, and I ran into the kitchen to get myself a glass of water. There was a stool that we had, and I was one of five kids, second to the youngest. So you had to figure out how to get what you needed, even when you were a 3 year old kind of thing. And so, probably between 3 and 4 years old, getting some water, and we had these little cups, and I was in the kitchen and worried my mom hearing me try to get my own water. So she asked what I was doing, and I said, I'm getting some water, then I'm going back to play with my Barbies and the angels. So I go back to, scurry back into my room, and my mom comes in holding my baby sister to tell me how that angels are real, God is real, but we don't see them. And telling me the story because it was something that happened in my family. And I grew up in the Central Valley in California. So I don't know if people have heard of the Fresno, Selma, that Central Valley area is where I grew up in Selma. And you didn't want to be the weirdos, right? And so as I got older, I uncovered that with my mom, but that's my first experience with the angels. And when my grandfather passed away, I was about 9 years old, and was when I had my first experience fully seeing my grandfather standing next to me on the side of my bed when he passed. And I knew exactly what had happened, although he never opened his mouth to speak to me. And I heard the phone ring in the house. And then my mom screamed. I heard her scream and drop the phone. My bedroom was right across the hall from my mom's. And after that, he was gone. So between the angels and seeing things mediumship wise very young, but never connecting the dots, never owning it, and a family that tried to discourage it. Strange things always happened in our household, in our family. The sliding glass door, I don't know if people are familiar with ranch style homes, but they have these sliding glass doors that are fairly heavy. And if you ever watch the Brady Bunch, they have one of those doors that in their house. But the door would unlatch. This big sliding glass door would open itself, and my mom would walk over. Nobody else would touch it. If we'd sit on the floor, we were watching TV in the living room because that's where the door was. She'd close it, latch it again. Most of the time, it would open itself and do it again. She would walk over, latch it up, stomp her foot, and you could hear under her breath saying, "Stop it." Like, she would just go about her business. Nobody would say anything. It was never really talked about or brought up, not until years and years later when I really started owning my gifts. And so that's kind of where my early childhood went. And I'm sure lots of people that are listening to this, or maybe perhaps even live with you there, have some memories of things in their childhood, perhaps even dreams starting when they were in their childhood. And we often just learn to go about our business. We just go about our business. And so it wasn't a thing for me. I always knew I was kind of strange. Like, I would just make up stories in my head is what I thought about people. I'd be walking by a woman in a restaurant, let's just say, and I'd be thinking like, oh, so sad. She can't have children. She really wants a baby. And I'd be like, why am I thinking about this woman? I don't know or anything about her. And I understand it now, right? I would say things to people, like to my mom, about people that were coming over or that were there, or somebody would say something as a small child and there'd be a group of adults doing whatever, and somebody would say something and I'd be like, that's not true, right? And I'd be getting in trouble. So lots of little things that I can look back on, but nothing at the time that made me think anything strange or spiritual was happening. For me, it just was what it was. And I really tried to be normal. So I sought to get, a teaching credential and get my education, and got a master's degree, and then got a second one, and, really kind of sought to be involved with kids and with education. And I loved it. Being a teacher is something I absolutely love. I didn't leave teaching because there was something wrong or I didn't like it or I got sick of it or jaded. I loved it to my last day, bawled my eyes out the last day of school when I was leaving. But this took over. And my husband was saying, you gotta choose, because we need you sometimes. Like, I
Yeah.
was getting readings almost every evening, on the weekends. People were asking me to come here and there to do things, and I was trying to manage my job that I was doing and this. And so I just got to a point into an age where I was like, I'm going to turn this over to someone else. My boss at the time begged me, please don't leave. What do you want to do? How do you want to do this? Do you want to stay in this? I mean, I ended up staying until I was down to 20% teaching. And I was just like, this is ridiculous. And so that's kind of my journey into taking this on full time. I really kind of stepped into it in increments of it taking over, and more people finding me and more people wanting to come and sharing that kind of news. So that's kind of you can check out this book too. It's called The Gift Within, and it's written by a woman named Marianne Bohr, and she found several people throughout the world that had spiritual gifts and kind of put their story in a book. And so if anybody's interested, check out Marianne Bohr. And my story's in there. Some of my story's in there as well.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. Like, flash it so everyone can see one more
Yeah,
time.
I'll put it up here again. The Gift
There you
Within. You
go.
can find this on Amazon. Look at me trying to find the camera. The Gift Within. Marianne Bohr.
Yeah, everyone needs more just angles of understanding when it comes to how they are opening their gifts. So that's very, very important.
You all
When
have them. Anybody listening and their hunger and their desire for any of this, it's in there. It's like a muscle we can work on to build up our intuition and our connection to what I call our spirit team. That can show up in our dreams. That can show up in our meditation. But even in meditation, I'm a meditation teacher. I studied with the McLean Institute with meditation, and that we speak about in meditation, that it's not so much during the meditation that you want to have an expectation, like let go of the expectation to have a profound or spiritual experience. It's going to be in your everyday moments. It's going to be the little things walking around that you're able to receive because you've learned to slow down your nervous system. You've learned down to quiet through the moments, appreciate the small things, push through the struggle. And that allows spirit to get in on all the moments, not just the ones where we're sitting in meditation. Such a beautiful thing to know.
it really is. The McLean Institute is fantastic. It really is. Immediately when you were talking about that, I was thinking about, so you had this overactive imagination that you didn't know what it was. And I think that is such a fantastic way to put it, as you did, where you just wonder or think, not even try to wonder, you just think randomly about somebody walking past you. And did you find that you were having those experiences even when you were stressed out, or was it when you were more relaxed, or was it all over the place?
It was really all over the place. I'm just thinking of this now, right? Like the way you put that, what a brilliant question. I bet it was in all of the moments because I know I've had stressed moments where things came to me to do, or I would hear a voice that seemed more outside of my head. Because most of the time it's right inside my head where I'm hearing it. But outside of my head, that would keep me from going into an intersection, or because that's truly a thing. I have in the past been a very aggressive driver. Sorry, people. I'm better now. Much better now. But like it stopped me from the lights green. I'm going like I was waiting with a racehorse to go at times in the past, but it stopped me from doing that before. I've gone in later to work when it benefited me to. I've stayed longer. There's little things like I would call synchronicities, but it's my energy being matched with the spirit world's energy to keep me going or on track. And when I look back to when I was young, I know they kept me alive. I know there were situations that I was in. I was a child of the 80s. We were rogue individuals, wanderers, out at night, not doing not necessarily anything bad, but the kids of the 80s, you weren't allowed in the house in the summer. You
It's
learned to drink
true.
from the hose. You were walking around, you could come home after a certain period of time because you didn't want to be in the house, if you will, even. So we were more rogue, and staying alive, I think, was part of I think they knew they needed to sign up for that.
Absolutely. And there's metal bars everywhere.
Yeah. Now
Depending
they're
on how
all
young you were. But yeah, very different time of, did you kind of understand, even you mentioned, you're like, I knew I was different and I knew I did certain things at certain times. Did you have any understanding that these things helped you, or you're just like, I guess I'll go with that?
Yeah, and I didn't always listen. And I know now, looking back, right? I know now from, or even like say, the 20 years that I've been doing this more or less, that I know now when I look back, I can see it, but not at the time per se. I would have these really weird feelings and don't know why I trusted them at times and other times didn't. But I would know things, and I would know that I knew things, but it wasn't that I was focused on it or that I was using it to my benefit like I would now. Like, I'll be like, I'm not trusting that person. They're not coming in to fix this in our house. I'm looking for somebody different, right? Like, I'm
Right.
going to trust it with a knowingness now because I've had the privilege of honing in those skills, of being aware of them, focusing on my awareness, aware that there are these things called clairs, clairvoyance, clairaudience, and that this is what's going on with me. Knowledge is power. And I think with that knowledge, I've really learned to hone it in. And that's one of the things that I know that you do just from this show is you're giving people knowledge. You're empowering them to be the best person that they can. And then it's up to them to listen or not, because don't we not always listen? Even now, like I want to listen more often, but there are times when I just don't. Like I'm working on a second deck of cards for guides and how
Ooh.
people have really good access and easy access. Whether you're young or you've never used cards before, I'm that person that wants to build the deck for people who think that they're not intuitive or they're not connected and make it easy for them. But it's going to be a 10-year journey by the time those are done. Took me 5 years to get the angel deck done. This is a 10-year journey and it's half done already. I'm that person that is not listening hard enough, or like I'm taking my sweet time too, just like I'm sure your listeners understand.
All in good time. You can't rush good things, and there's a reason why it's going that way. I honor that. And yeah, absolutely, the more you work within this energy, the
Mhm.
more aptitude you have. So what I was aware of, even though there was moments in my past where I have experienced things so clearly that maybe that won't always happen now the same way. I'm just able to navigate things a lot better, and it does become a benefit to our life automatically. Like, just you understand the energy of people because you're working with people all day long, or you understand the energy of spirit and how they can guide you. And all
Mhm.
spirit wants to do is guide us
Yes.
to honestly more expansion and ascension, so there's less like confusion and chaos in the world. I would imagine that that's the agenda to a large degree.
Very much so.
And
Yes.
I want to ask you too, so whether it's your signs now or when you first began, actually I would love to ask you both because I think it would be rather fascinating. What were your signs when you were a kid or a teenager that were yeses for you and nos for you? And what are your signs that are yeses and nos now?
When I was younger, the hearing and then like the goosebumps, I would hear loudly yeses or nos. And when I hear back now, I would have told you when I was a kid, I just know I'm not supposed to. I just know that's a no. I would hear it, but I wouldn't have been able to use the language. I heard yes in my head. I heard no in my head. It would have, I would have thought this is my thinking or my voice. And I'm sure lots of listeners think the same thing. How do I know it's not my own thinking? And being young, I wouldn't have discerned that. I just would have at certain times trusted it. And when I was very little, just would have flown from my mouth, or I would have reacted with that non discerning or paying attention. But I was very clairaudient and hearing things. Um, I would have dreams now and then that would guide me in a certain way. I would ask, like if I was taught, like I was raised Catholic, so was taught prayer. And I remember being like, I don't know, 12, 13, like the middle school kinds of years, kind of asking and praying for certain things and seeing things line up that direction, right? And knowing at certain times things weren't going to be meant for me and being frustrated, not knowing who I was angry at or frustrated at. And so that clairsentient side of me feeling and that claircognizant side of me knowing, like if I attribute it to that, but at the time, would I have described it as any kind of knowing? Not. But I was one of those people, I can look back at my life, even my early 20s, and see the synchronicities. Like, what? the heck? Even where I ended up living in my 30s and now in my 50s where I'm living, none of it is just pure my own desire. It's all been designed or designed according to my soul contract, if you will. I know that now. Now I get lots of signs. I get everything from critters, ladybugs, stink bugs at times, even that show up in a certain way that mean certain things. Got a penny not too long ago, 1971 penny, and that's the year my biological dad passed away. Things that show up when I'm talking or asking. And the more I put my energy into it, talking, asking, and not out of a desperation. I never do it out of desperation. It's reverence, my love for my spirit team, my love for the spirit world is where I always approach my asking from. Things start to show up for me, but it can be almost anything. And so beautifully targeted, like 1971 penny. It can't be easy to find, on my path, walking to teach meditation at the community center here, walking down there's the penny. And I'm your girl that's stopping to pick up the penny. It might look dirty and yucky. Do not pass them by. You're communicating and sending forward an energy signature out to the spirit world, and ask them to support you or your journey. And here's what I want to do. Here's how I want to be of service. Here's how I want to give. Lead me in that direction. Show me the way. Bring me my signs. Ladybugs for me mean a lot. I've had them crawl out in the winter time from under my bed while I'm giving a phone reading. Yeah, like, what?
What were they surviving on, right?
Right, like where I'm living now, I get bunnies in a really interesting way. They'll just be right outside my window and there'll be a little bunny right there just looking at me. And I'm giving someone a reading, right? It's like the nature will think, oh, that's just coincidence, right? We'll think it's coincidence. And it's not that we need to do our head in. What does this mean? Why did I get this? Why a bunny? Why not a jackrabbit or a different kind of animal, coyote, a weasel, or whatever, right? Why that? It's more important to acknowledge that they're listening, and the real meaning behind what it's supposed to be eventually reveals itself.
I do believe so. Yeah, we can't box it. And, you could even try to sometimes test spirit and be like, okay, I only believe you if you show me an Arctic fox in summer, and then you're going to meet somebody with a shirt of an Arctic fox. You can't, it's just, and some people will just not necessarily catch that when it's right in front of them, but the universe will conspire. So eventually you do.
Yes, absolutely. And you build up energy around it. You build up that positive, forward moving energy that invites it in. And do you get it exactly when you want it every time? No, because it's more when you need it. It's when it's pertinent. It's when, right? And the more that we're actively involved in these amazing signs and symbols from spirit, the more we get them.
It's true. Someone's mentioning a giraffe that came up in a reading once with a lot of hearts. Thank you, Courtney. I appreciate that. Little animal. I love animals. Like, I really feel like animals are just such natural channels. Yeah. So if spirit, the universe, wants to use them in a certain way, like, they're just a natural conduit. And then all of a sudden you're like, whoa, why is that animal doing that? It's because they're just allowing, they're just being, they're just like this primal force. And it's so easy for them to blend that they'll just start doing things that are needed sometimes.
Yeah. They're collaborators for sure with the spirit world. Yeah. Like-minded, if you will, energetically minded.
That's a very good way to put it. Another thing about energy that I really want to ask you about additionally is like angels, because you've had so many experiences with angels, with different archangels or different types of angels, whether you've researched like seraphim or like the
Yeah.
different
Mhm.
orders of angels, and can you like describe that to us, whether it's in color or vibration or type of service that they find people in?
Yeah. Any or all of the above, all of those things are true. And because human beings pick up on different frequencies, so some people are key in very, very well to color. Color is light and energy and information. Some people might key into, sounds. Some people, and so when you allow yourself to have it be okay, like, well, when the angels come in around me, I feel it, or I get the goosebumps, or I feel that loving presence. That's okay. That's not less than, say Archangel Michael comes in that bright indigo color represents. Some people will see the color, then the feelings may wash over them, and be accepting of how it shows up for each and every one of you. The archangels work with us the most on life's challenges, and then moving into a state of surrendering fear is why we have angels, both our guardian angels and the archangels. They don't have that fear because they haven't been human. So, and it's part of our journey to learn to surrender and let go of fear. It's the underlying message of why we come. We've come to grow and evolve our soul. That's why we've all come to planet Earth. And through that evolution, the more we can let go of fear, we need to be prudent. So don't throw your money away unless you want to, right? Like, you don't need to run in the middle of the street or drink bleach because you're going to be okay anyway, kind of thing. Be prudent. Take care of what you need to earthwise, but fear stops us from growing and evolving, from having that next experience, from taking on it. We'll talk ourselves out of taking a class. We'll talk ourselves out of going somewhere because of fear. And they want to encourage us. They're our biggest cheerleaders to move past that. And they're always available to everyone. They don't judge. There isn't a religion that they're connected to. You don't even have to believe in them. The more you give them permission and invite them in through a knowing, the easier it becomes to see the synchronicities that are happening for you. But I've met people that don't even know that they have that going on for them, or the angels are there for them. They're there for a reading to connect to loved ones. But I can see the synchronicities that the angels are talking about, getting them to a certain situation. They might sense or know. If I would suggest to people, if they want to know if the angels are around them, to get themselves a really good deck of oracle cards that they enjoy. There's a plethora of them out there to choose from, and start playing with them, because they bring in divine love. And your angels know your soul contract. So if you're feeling stuck, as some people say that they do, your angels are right there to help move you along so that you're growing and evolving. And so if you're shutting yourself down and saying, I can't take that chance, I don't know if that's going to be the right class for me to take, or the right book for me to read, or the right place to go. I mean, I've done that myself. I mean, maybe you have too, Kelly, and maybe some of your listeners can resonate. But the more we seek to step up and be of service to the self that way, to grow, to learn something, it's never wrong, even if it's not the end all be all.
It's never wrong. No. And there's all these experiences that we're invited to be a part of. And, I've, how can I put it? Just, there's simple things like growing up, I listened to a lot of Shania Twain, and I'm just like, oh, I just wish I could see Shania Twain. Well, literally like a couple of months later, I lived in Illinois, there was a free concert for Shania Twain because they were like shooting like some of her videos and she wanted to give back and stuff. And literally I could have gotten tickets like down the street from where I went, but I just was like, I don't know. And then I was like kind of asking like family members, do you want to go too? And like my enthusiasm was greater than their enthusiasm. And I let that opportunity pass me by because I felt like people weren't matching my vibration with enthusiasm. And it's just
Oh,
like sometimes we're trained like within our life, or we're brought up within our life to let
yeah,
things go because we can understand why, but we go, am I right? I'm getting these signs, am I overthinking it? And then not everyone around us overthinks thinks the same way, and
yeah,
fixates on it the same way. So I do think like I've had moments within my life where sometimes I go, I know what I wanted. Why did I overlook that? And it could be like, not life changing things, but just like invitations to have joy within your life.
yeah,
Um, I want to ask about too, because you say you're so connected to sounds sometimes.
yeah.
What have the angels sounded like to you?
So, for me, when I was little, it was right outside of me. Now it's inside of me, and it's the same as spirit sounds, but it comes in with a finer, slightly higher vibration, if you will. And so it's not so much the sound different, say, than myself. It's the way that I describe spirit speaking or how they would sound, but they utilize, I mean, spirit does too, but they utilize a lot of music that exists. And so I will get songs, they'll start running through my head. I will ask people, are you one of those people that get earworms? I think they call it, or songs run through your head, or you wake up with songs in your head, or a song just randomly hits you, or are you hear a part of a song and then you can't let it go? Those people tend to find themselves connected and on the vibration with angels. They may never know it, but they
Makes
are.
sense.
And they don't, the angels don't want to be worshiped. They don't need for people to know. They just enjoy doing that. So if you're one of those people, I can promise you, you're connected to angels. If anybody's listening and is unsure if they've got angels that they're working with in their life, they are. And some people do it more often. So if you find yourself on occasion connecting to music, spirit, or a song's in your head, or you keep hearing the same song over and over again, that's most likely a high time of connection with you for the angels. So we'll have some times in our life where they're more present because we're getting ready to go through a change, or we just came through one. So they're helping us have an energy adjustment. We just went through a day this week. Well, 2 days, both yesterday and the day before, where we had angels in the world for everyone throughout the world, no one left behind, if you will. That where angels were a little more closer to the world than what I like to think of as typical. We were just going through a big energetic push. And what's happening is people are getting very much encouraged to wake up, to take chances, to leave fear behind, and not fear that to be ridiculous in life, like don't run in the middle of the street, don't play with knives, if you will, right? But that notion of, I don't need to worry about everything in the media. I don't need to worry about somebody's fear-based thinking that's in the family. Give those people more love if they're in your family. Of course, we don't throw them behind too. It's happening for everyone. But what we see is a disconnect for some people where that energy push makes them not really okay. And it's a side effect of, anything can have somewhat of a side effect. It's always positive, the energy we're getting from the universe, and the angels step in to help. But some people struggle with taking on more energy. Just like some people are more sensitive if they take a medication or certain foods that they eat. They just have a harder time absorbing what's coming at us. And so I'm not sure if I'm making sense. So help me out if I'm not.
No, 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 you are. You're talking about how, certain people can take on energies easily and other people can't. And it's important not to push. It's important to be prudent in life, but it's important not to push and just allow things to happen. And it sounds like, that's what the angels do for us, right?
Yes,
And for us to I like to use like a kind of a phrase for us to be angels unto ourselves.
Nice.
Because I just try that's what you're making me kind of think about when you ask me kind of that, because or like angels onto others, right? Because I think like when I've done like healing work, I go, okay, well, angels would come in and they would do things with my energy and other people's energy where it would ignite the best part of ourselves or make us feel like more clear or more loving or more calm or healthy. I'm just like, well, if I took on that vibration, how would I act or how would I treat other people? And I would actually want to be in that vibration, because it's so great. So how can I give that to myself? How can I give that to other people?
Absolutely. Such a positive thing when we think about that adjustment that our energy is making, and it may feel hard, or we may feel a little more tired or more frustrated, or we may see people around us struggling with it and could throw the feeling for us off. But if we understand that it's all for the greater good, then we can move through it with that sense of this is all really good for me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because they are just, I feel like spirit and the universe is so expansive. So sometimes you can have these dichotomies that you wonder, why do we have that in existence? But with the angels, I'd really feel like it's very clear to me, like that they are here to help. I always just get such an immediate help vibration. And I kind of want to ask you too. So, I haven't heard a lot of angels. I really have. I will feel or see visuals and stuff like that, but I haven't heard a lot with them. And it's really hard to describe this, so I don't know if I can do it justice. Maybe you can help me with it if you've ever experienced. I don't know if you have, but we don't know what we've had to have experienced if it's so similar or different. But I remember that I had some experiences where I just felt like the energy was above me rather than to the side of me, like spirit. Like a loved one or a guide. But it was above me, and it was like above me, like they were sitting in the sky, and it was like singing, and the singing like sounded like music. So it didn't sound like a voice because it was so soft and gentle, and the vibration was very high. And so it was like melodic, not quite like a harp, but there was just like this singing. And like during kind of a collection of years, I was kind of aware of that. And it was almost like chimes in a way. At times it felt like too. And I haven't had a lot of discussions with people like, have you heard angels or have you heard angelic frequencies? But it came out once when I was talking to just a coworker, and she goes, "Oh my God, I know what you're talking about." And she had to relay this and then ask you. I know I'm being like, I know I'm elongating the story, but to kind of talk about it for a second, she said, I had gotten to a situation where I found myself in jail for the night. So this person I was talking to, I'm like, oh, wow, like, okay. And she's like, I started praying and asking God for help. And he started sending me these, I knew that they were angels. And I just started sending me this like kind of melodic tone that just like permeated the air and let me know that everything was going to be okay. And so, I pass that on to you. I don't know if that makes sense or.
Absolutely. And we all kind of can have our unique way of how the energy and the vibrations and the sounds and all of that connection can happen. And they'll use what will work for that person to bring that sense of peace and calm to pass over you. That sense of grace that falls over us in the moments of tragedy or pain or scared or whatever. We can have those transcendent moments, right? And having that sound or that music could have facilitated that nervous system within her to help to calm. and then the knowings to be present. They'll use whatever they can use. I learned to use crystal bowls and took classes to do sound baths because the angels were like, we work within that frequency and that sound as well. And so because I just hear them and know them in a certain way, and they do come in different spots, once in a while they'll come in and they'll enter through the top of people's heads or through the back of your neck. Some people might feel an opening in the back of their neck. But the frequency and the vibration and the sound of a crystal ball and played in a certain way invites in that energy to wash through your cells. It does something with the cells of your body, just like how they talk about Dr. Emoto would discuss like what would happen with water. And if you put intention into it, sound and frequency matches in with vibration and is an intention. And it can speak to the physical form and specifically atoms, and which then make up parts of our cells. So I encourage people to take a sound bath, but there are sometimes sound baths or things like that that can be used for a specific purpose when someone knows how. And it's not always that beautiful, melodic, soft gentleness that comes with the sound bath, which I love. But it can be a little bit different. It can even be feeling off-putting because we're dislodging like stuck things in our cells. And it's helping our DNA when you connect with things like that. So using my crystal bowls and sound for people, it's helpful. Just think about too, when you are by yourself and you are listening to certain kinds of music, how it impacts your mood. So if you know that and you're paying attention to it, or you know you want to reach for certain music, it's not different than that, but the angels can go in and do a little bit more of a deeper cleanse, I guess, if you will, within the cells itself with sound, frequency, and vibration. And there's some science behind this as well, of sound and frequency and vibration that can impact someone's cellular being. We know that if we use sound, it can affect, like they attach it to a pan with sand in it, that it can make different patterns. It does that within our body. Our body has water in it. Our body has selenium in it. All of these different minerals have a vibration connection as well.
Yeah, like you're making me think about our body, our energy is just like this ever-changing mandala as it, connects to the mandalas
that around us and in us as well. Merkaba.
It's really Merkaba. Now you're making me think of other angelic things with the Merkaba. Who is your favorite angel or archangel to work with?
Well, for me, it really depends on what I need to do or what's going on. And obviously, I have a big love for Archangel Gabriel or Gabrielle, the communication, healing work and healing things with Archangel Raphael. So love to work with them. Archangel Shamuel has been my current go-to. Shamuel works with things like being passionate or impassioned about career or life path. It's like doing things that you love, not necessarily for like the career part. It's like I'm impassioned to do what I want. I'm impassioned to do what I love. So Shamuel's been my go-to. He's been my go-to very recently. Haniel, anything related to the moon stuff, goddess energy, feminine energy, I go to her. So, I mean, I could talk all day about that.
Yeah. Hey, just whatever, whatever you're impassioned in, because you've been bringing Shamuel in. So if you're ready to go, hey, if I may too, what have been your experiences with like Uriel, if you've had him come in or her? I don't know if
he brings in the light. And Archangel Uriel is interesting because oftentimes he shows up and leaves a piece and knows how much you're ready for. So you may get sometimes this much and sometimes this much. And when you're ready for the next, it shows up. and the next shows up. It's like, it's not breadcrumbs, if you will, but I like to think of them that way. And sometimes I'll be like, more, please, more. Where am I going next? And so, yeah, that's big light. That's big energy. The light of God is the term that Uriel brings in. If you are feeling dark, or you are feeling lost, stuck in an addiction, need to get out of a pattern or a situation, call an Archangel or Uriel, because the steps to go will be revealed. And going the wrong way with Archangel Uriel will create a block in your path. Like you'll get the no, and you'll get the no, and you'll get the no, or it won't work out. Problem kinds of things.
I love it. I really appreciate that, because he's one of the main four, and he's not talked about as much as the others.
Yep,
So
yeah.
I love your interpretation of that. And I have like a fixation with understanding more about Uriel.
Yeah.
And I feel like what you just described, like with the next step in the opening of energy and the blocked energy, that comes frequently with how I understand energy, and I ask for guidance. So that's really interesting. I love it.
Yeah, and check out Archangel Raziel. If you're working with Uriel, Raziel is like innovative. I can get the answer. I can invent something. I can find my path. I can create the way into the yes. That's Raziel, and how the two of them can really work nicely in connection to one another.
Ooh, I like that. I will invite Raziel into as well and feel. I love that recommendation. So I want to ask you too about what you're impassioned about. So can you talk about what you've been learning with the divine feminine and the moon energies, and share your heart within that too as well?
For me, impassion from some of that energy has been the past life stuff that started to show up for me. I've always seen past life stuff, connections for people. It ends up in a certain part of their aura. I start to see turquoise colored orbs around someone, and then the orbs start to bring me information, and it's their past life or information there. And I started to get a guide about 2 years ago or so, and they showed me 3 trimesters, meaning the angels connected to my guide of lifetimes that we travel through. Lifetimes 1 through 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, and then 9, 10, and 11, and 12. So we've got 3 trimesters that the soul journeys through with lessons on each level. And there's no one level that is less than and one's more. We might look at it from our human brain and say, I want to be way over here in lifetime 12, and not in lifetime 1. But there is purpose and meaning behind all of it. And I've gotten impassioned in the past few years to uncover that kind of journey, knowing will help all of us to get through wherever we're at, so that we can be happy right here, right now, like this moment, this at my age that I'm at the place that I'm living, at whatever life situations are happening to me, helps me right here and right now. And it doesn't seem like it makes sense. How do past lives help that? But it really does. It helps us to see there's a scope within the journey of the soul that brings us to each and every moment that is so amazingly purpose-filled. Even in the moments of almost nothing going on, like easy like a Sunday morning, if you will, that there is so much that we are blessed with, and so much power that we have, even in those moments of not much, right? Or a struggle, even, if you will. We have so much power within us to evolve and grow through that moment. And it spirals instead of goes on this straight line, like lives 1 through 4 or whatever have you. So it's so fascinating that it's impassioned me. Meditation impassions me. I can't stop talking about it. I research about it. I look up more brain science about it. Never thought I'd be interested in brain science at all, but am. I want people to understand it's not that you need to have a profound moment in every moment of meditation. It happens throughout your regular day when you become a regular meditator. Love doing that. I offer it in person where I live here in Napomo, California. I'm on the Central Coast now, moved out of the Bay Area, the San Jose Bay Area, in 2020 and moved to the Central Coast at the beach. And I do it. It's also on Wednesdays at 1 on it's on Zoom as well. You can get the free link. It's all free on my website. I'm teaching a mediumship course right now and empowering them through the blending and the linking process that we know is so valuable to mediumship at the next level. That's impassioning me. My next events are in San Jose. I just finished up doing a collaboration with Greener Pastures Farm Sanctuary. They're a local nonprofit in my area here in Arroyo Grande. So teamed up with them to do a gallery event for them. And I'm going to be down in San Jose, June 16th, 17th, and 18th. I don't know if you have listeners in San
No,
Jose.
it's good. I was actually going to ask you just naturally. So it's like you already, felt it. What do you have going on where people can be a part of? Because the listeners are all over the place, and some of them do live in parts of California, or they have family members that they can tell that live in those areas. So honestly, I've met people with crazy connections, whether it's through this show or another show, and people turn up. So yeah, share what you have.
Yeah. Well, in June, on Friday, June 16th, it's a Messages from Heaven. It's a gallery style. But I'll just say where I'll be. I'm going to be at this wonderful boutique. It's called Amethyst House in San Jose, California, in the Willow Glen area. Amethyst House, they have crystals and all of the amazing stuff. And they also do healings and things there, but they host events. It's got the most gorgeous energy. So I'm doing an audience event, a gallery on the 16th. The 17th is a chakra healing class where I'll teach people how to do self-healing. And this is a little bit more for people who are newbies to the chakra system and or healing. It's kind of, that was my first segue into the spirit world, was healing work, right? Like I studied and became a Reiki master, but my journey was in with a woman in New Zealand with frequency and vibration stuff and aura readings. And that's really where I started in 2007 with energy work and healing work. And I've studied everything, I think, almost that exists out there with healing work. But it's a chakra class and it's very basic and easy. It's a 3-hour class that day. Anybody could take it. And I'll also be giving healings. Are working on energy, if you will, balancing. And then there's a small group on Sunday the 18th, but that's already sold. That one's already sold out. So that's coming up and will be fun. And people should stay tuned for past life group readings and other events on my website coming up. Probably most likely on the other side of the summer. We'll see. We'll see how that.
There's a lot going on. I mean, I love that you're doing so many demonstrations and classes. Where can people find you too if they want to be a part of this? What social media platforms do you have, or what's your website?
Yep. My website is angelichope.com. Makes sense, right? Angelic Hope. My website. And I'm Leanne Thomas Medium on both Instagram and Facebook.
Perfect. And before we go, I want to take one question too. So they're asking LeAnn, I used to get deja vu a lot as a child until about 19. Would you say it's a sign that I'm spiritual? I sense situations.
Oh, I sense around her, like it's a female, right? You were saying she.
I don't, it says Facebook user actually. Sometimes
Okay.
they come in and they don't have a, but it's just like it's like encouragement, like what you see or what
Yeah,
you just know.
I sensed very deeply that this person still might not be having the deja vu the same, but they are definitely, I want to use the term multidimensional, Now, we're all somewhat multidimensional. We all really are, but some of us travel in and out of dimensions easier. Like cats do it easier than dogs, right? Kind of like, but some people move through dimensions and have an experience or a memory connected to being somewhere or in some way and step back into our traditional 3D, I call it traditional dimensions. But going through other dimensions doesn't feel natural or normal to us because we don't do it all that often with our knowingness.
It's true.
So I feel like that you're very multidimensional. It does make you spiritual, but every single person's spiritual, even if they said they weren't or they were an atheist. I would suggest really getting in a strong meditative practice. And it's just consistency, because then in your waking days, you're going to have more really interesting multidimensional experiences.
I agree. It's a time to remember who you are and time to train your mind. Absolutely.
Sure.
We're getting so many comments, but you guys, we're at the. Can you believe it just boom?
Yeah. Did I stop talking? I don't think I did.
No, you did. You were very passionate. We're going to use that word a lot. You're very passionate about explaining things, but they were so important the way that you explained it. And there was a flow. So you are exactly in the flow. Don't worry. I want to say thank you for coming, LeAnn. I always invite our guests to give a last piece of wisdom, whether it's in any form that you choose. Some people do poetry, card pull, whatever they feel inspired to share within the moment.
Ooh, card pull.
Yeah, whatever you want.
I have a channeled message here, but I think this card pull may be a little bit more fun. So I'm just going to use my deck, and I'm just going to shuffle. Give me a number, Kelly, 1, 2, or 3.
2.
All right, I'm just going to shuffle twice. I'm going to cut the deck. We'll take what's from the top and see what they give us. Look at that. It's hard to read. I'm going to read it for you. And it says, Archangel Jeremiel and Archangel Uriel, your guide, right, are stepping forward to encourage and motivate you into taking action with your creative projects. Now is the time to make things happen. It's being about getting active, taking a chance, getting creative, even if you think you're not. You can be creative making a pie. You can get creative in the garden. You can get creative writing a class or a course that you've always wanted to teach. You can get creative cleaning your closet.
Love it. You open up that energy, and that is so cool. Like, as soon as you showed me, it had a little bit of red. I was like, oh, is Uriel on that card? But that I'm not even familiar with Jeremiel. How do you?
I say Jeremiel. I never worry about how Jeremiel. It's how I usually remember to say it. You can say it however you want. They won't mind. Jeremiel's about looking at a life review, taking stock and moving forward. Taking stock. Ooh. Where have you been and where are you ready to go?
It's kind of in the vein of what you were talking about with past lives and what it all means. Ooh, I kind of like that.
We should do a past life show.
Yes.
All that good stuff.
I am up for that. So you just put it on the itinerary of intention of what we will talk about. Would you like to come on for a past life show in the future? I
would love to. Yes.
All right, let's do it.
Yes.
Let's do it. I love it. Sometimes these things just come about so in flow. So there you go. More validation with that. And thank you everyone for coming today. Thank you, LeAnn, for your beautiful wisdom. And I love it. I love your brain, your heart, your spirit. I love having you here. With that said, please, everybody, go with love, light, luck, and laughter. And don't forget to live. See you next week. Thank you, LeAnn.
Thank you.
The truth is here and now on WLTK-DB Talk Radio at WLTK-DB.com.